and welcome to Josie and Ellie Crochet. And today's tutorial is on how to crochet this chunky ear warmer. So the pattern is really flexible. I've chosen to do it in one colour, but you could mix it up with the rose if you wanted to. For this project, you will need your choice of chunky yarn. You will need 2 crochet hooks. One is for the foundation row, and that is a slightly bigger one. So for today, I'm using a 9mm, and then I size down for the remaining rows, and I've gone for an 8mm here. You also need some scissors to cut your yarn and a yarn needle to weave in your ends. So I'm gonna just clear my workspace and bring in a little bit so you can see a little bit of what we're doing. Okay, so we're starting off with the bigger hook to do our starting chain. So I'm using a 9mm hook with my chunky yarn here. So to begin working the chain, we need to take a slip knot. So if you wrap the yarn around your finger into an X shape, we're going to take our hook under that first piece of yarn and over the second. I've twisted my hook round so I can pull that piece of yarn through, and then I can remove my finger and tighten up. So your starting chain will vary depending on the size of the ear warmers that you want to make. If you have the person that you're making it for available, then you want to measure around their head. And because we're twisting it, you want to take off 1 to 2 inches to take into account that the twist. So measure their head circumference and take off 1 to 2 inches. If you'd like a guideline, I do have that for various sizes within my pattern. So we're taking our starting chain by taking the yarn around the hook and pulling through the loop. So we go around the hook and pull through the loop, around and pull through. And we continue with this until we are at the correct length. So if your person that you're making it for, I mean, it might be you, might be someone else, is there, then you can use them as you're going along to check that it's the right size. So I'm going to keep it small. This is obviously not the size for a real person, but just to show you our pattern here. So when you've gone to the correct length, you're then going to work in the second stitch from your hook, and we're going to change hook size. So I'm going to go 1 millimeter smaller. Now you don't have to do this, by the way. This is just something that I like to do, because otherwise I find that my starting chain is quite tight otherwise. So this just makes sure that there's no and then when, if I show you here, these are the same size, but I've found when I use the same hook, one size is slightly tighter than the other, and then when you put it on, it's really uncomfortable. So this is just what I have found has worked well. So we're going into the second chain from the hook. I use UK terminology, but I'll give you the US terminology as well. So this is going to be a half treble crochet, and if you use US terminology, that's a half double. So we're going to take the yarn over the hook, go into the second stitch from our hook. We're going to take that yarn over and we're going to take it through the loop there. So we have 3 pieces of yarn, 3 loops on our hook. We're then going to take the yarn over again, and we're going to pull that piece of yarn through all 3 loops there. We're going to do exactly the same into our next stitch. So yarn over hook, take that hook in, take the yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, and pull all the way through. And this is what we're going to do in every stitch across. So we're taking that half treble crochet, yarn over, we go in, yarn over, pull up, yarn over and through all 3 loops. Yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over through all 3 loops, yarn over and in, yarn over, pull up, yarn over and pull all 3 loops, yarn over and in, yarn over and up, yarn over and pull all 3 loops. So this is our first row, and I would suggest just measuring again at this point to make sure, because you don't want to have to undo it all. So after you've finished this row, just check with your measurements once more, just to be sure that it is the correct size for you. So we're doing that all the way to the end, yarn over in, yarn over up, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So I've got 2 more stitches here. So once we come to the last stitch, we're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2, and then we turn our work. So that is how our first row will look. We're now going to be working into the back loop, which is this loop here. So here you've got your main stitch. This one here is your front loop, and this one here is your back loop. So that's the one that we want to be working on. And we're just simply going to stay with that half treble crochet, half double crochet if you use US terminology. So we're taking that yarn over first. We're going into that back loop here, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, yarn over into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So yarn over, back loop, yarn over and up, yarn over and pull through all 3. So you get a nice little kind of ledge, is that the right word I want to use here? And it just gives a nice little bit of texture to your ear warmer. So yarn over into that back loop, yarn over and up, yarn over through all 3 loops. And that is what we are doing for the whole time to create our ear warmer. Now, this pattern is really flexible. I love the chunky yarn because it just works up so quickly. However, you can use it with DK, you can use it with Aran. It's really flexible. It doesn't have to be chunky yarn that you use. That's just a preference of mine. I love working with chunky yarn. Right, so we're coming to the end of that row. And we repeat what we did before. So we chain 2, 1, 2, we turn, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we take our half treble crochets into our back loop. Now, what I would suggest, if you're making for a child, I recommend using 4 rows, and if you are making ear warmers for an adult, I recommend 5 rows. That's with the chunky yarn. You'll have to, if you do use a DK or an Aran, then you would need to have a little, have your model there to see how wide you want it. But with the chunky yarn, 4 rows for a child's ear warmer and 5 for an adult. So there we are, we have our 3 rows. As if by magic, here's one I made earlier, so I'm going to show you how to do the twisted ear warmer with that. But when you get to your last row, take 1 chain just to secure it and then cut your yarn to fasten off. But I have one already here. This one's for one of my little girls, so I've got that already. So I'm just going to move these bits to the side. So as it's for a child, I have done 4 rows here. I have my 2 ends, so this is the end from where I started, and you can see that I've cut, does it all fit in there? I don't know. I've cut a slightly longer one here. I normally go about the length of the ear warmer, but around 20 to 30 centimeters will be long enough. This is the one that we're going to use to join the ends together. So what I'm going to do to begin with is weave this one in, because once it's kind of together, you're not going to be able to do it. So I want to weave this end in first, so that there is a knot at the end, so I feel safe that it's nice and secure. But I'm just going to weave it in here, and then I'm just going to come back, going in between the strands of one of the pieces of yarn there. So that's nice and secure in place. Let's cut that end off. Right, so what we're going to do is kind of create an S shape. So I'm going to get my 2 ends. I'm going to place this side into the center of here, and then I'm going to wrap this end around to meet here, and then this one can come around here, so you've kind of got that S shape. So that is the shape that you want to join yours together. I haven't put my yarn needle on, so let's try that again with the needle on. So let's place that through. Right, so getting our ends all together there. What you really want to make sure is that you get the end of the inside ones as well, because it can sometimes be easy to miss them. So what I'm going to do is take my yarn through here, and I'm going to go through the side, make sure I get the end of this one there and through. We go, and pull that in there, and then we're just going to weave back. So I'm going to go into the center here all the way through, and then I'm coming towards the end here, so I just want to make sure that I've got the end of this one in, which I do, and all the way through there. Right, now to be extra secure, I'm just going to go into the side here. You don't have to do this, but I go around so it wraps around here, just so that we don't get a little flappy bit when we turn it inside out. So I'm just going to wrap the yarn around there and just make sure that is securely in place. And I'm just going to work my way back through and do exactly, my end's too long, let's pull that out, and do exactly the same on the other side. So I'm going to come in the end here, and then I'm just going to wrap that around, and I kind of go to finish off diagonally in there. So again, that's just nice and secure. So I'm in the center, I'm just going to find a piece of yarn, and I'm going to use that to create a knot to make sure that that is secure there. And then I'm just going to weave in the end. So I'm just going to go through here through the middle and back up there. So you can, I mean, you can do that as many times as you feel you need to make sure that that's nice and secure. Cut our end off. Then all we're going to do is turn this the right way round and fold it out. And there you have. So this is a child size. A lovely twisted ear warmer. And the lovely thing about using the back loop only half treble crochet is that it is quite stretchy. So there is a little bit of room to give with it, but I think it's so effective. It's a gorgeous quick project. I do hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll be able to make some lovely chunky, oh I couldn't say it then, I nearly said crunchy, chunky twisted ear warmers yourself, because they're a lovely little crochet project, and they also make great gifts, and I've been making them for some Christmas markets as well. So if you like to sell your crochet projects, then this could be one that you can make for any markets that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy crocheting.